6 ways to protect your peace without cutting everyone off. Protect your peace. You've heard that phrase 100 times this year, and here's what nobody mentions about it. Most people practicing it right now aren't protecting anything. They're just avoiding people with better branding. Today we're going into the psychology of the difference. Because one version of cutting people off gets you peace. The other one gets you alone in a quieter way. So before you set another boundary, let's get specific about what you're actually doing. Watch 3 small moments. See if any of them feel familiar. Devon is 31, marketing manager. He has 2 coworkers who treat the team Slack like a venting board. Drama, complaints, the same person every single time. For years, Devon engaged, defended people, tried to fix it. He came home wired every night, couldn't sleep until midnight, replaying conversations he wasn't even in. Then one day he stopped opening Slack after 8 p.m. The drama still happens. He just doesn't watch it anymore. Ruth is 28. Her parents divorced when she was 12. Every Wednesday at 7, her mom calls not to talk, exactly, to process her ex-husband for an hour and a half. For years, Ruth listened. She'd carry it for 3 days. Now she answers and says, "Mom, I love you, and I have 15 minutes today." The calls are 15 minutes. They're closer than they've been in a decade. Lena is 29. Her college friend group still meets twice a year. She doesn't fit the version of her they remember. She used to play it anyway. Came home drained for a week after every reunion. This time she went and left after dinner. Skipped the late drinks. Did her own thing the rest of the trip. She didn't cut them off. She stopped pretending she was someone she isn't anymore. None of these 3 are cutting anyone off. And yet every one of them is protecting their peace. So why are we so bad at telling these moves apart? There's a line from the psychiatrist who basically built family systems theory. His name was Murray Bowen. The year was 1978. And what he wrote about emotional cutoff, the practice of distancing from people to manage unresolved feelings, would not play well on TikTok today. Quote, "The person who runs away from his family of origin is no more independent than the one who never leaves home." End quote. Sit with that. Because the culture right now treats cutting people off as a sign of maturity. Bowen called it the opposite. He drew a line between 2 things that look almost identical from the outside. Breaking away and growing away. One keeps you tangled forever, even when the person is no longer in the room. The other one actually frees you. The rest of this video is about the difference. Pair 1. Walls versus filters. Here's a distinction most people miss. In clinical psychology, especially in dialectical behavior therapy, the framework Marsha Linehan developed in the early 1990s, there's a useful distinction. A boundary is a decision about your behavior. A request is something you need someone else to do. Listen to the difference. I will not be available after 9 p.m. That's a boundary. You need to stop texting me after 9. That's a request. The first one lives inside your control. The second one needs them to cooperate. This matters because most of what people call boundary setting is actually request making in disguise. And when the request fails, when they keep texting after 9, escalation feels like the only move left. So they cut off. The whole spiral started because the original boundary was never a boundary. A real boundary doesn't depend on anyone else. Devon didn't ask his coworkers to stop posting drama. He stopped reading it after 8. Ruth didn't ask her mom to vent less. She gave her 15 minutes. The boundary lives in the behavior that's actually yours to change. That's the filter. The wall is change, or I'm leaving. The filter is, this is how I'll show up, regardless. One is a threat. The other is a practice. Permission to stop using one to do the other's job. Pair 2. Reaction versus selection. Laura Carstensen at Stanford ran a study published in 1999 Inches American Psychologist that changed how we think about social networks across the lifespan. She found something interesting. As humans perceive their time or energy as limited, they don't just retreat, they actively prune. They get more selective about who they invest in, and they deepen with fewer people. She called it socio-emotional selectivity. Here's where it gets uncomfortable. Selective investment and avoidance produce identical behavior from the outside. Smaller circle, fewer texts, quieter weekends. From the inside, they're opposite states. Selection is leaning into fewer. Avoidance is leaning out of all. Selection asks, where do I want to go deeper? Avoidance asks, what can I escape today? So when you're cutting back on people, ask yourself one question. Am I making room for more depth somewhere? Or am I just making more room? If you can't name where the depth is going, You're not selecting. You're just hiding and calling it growth. So here's the third pair, and this one operates entirely inside your own head. Pair 3. Distance versus discernment. Matthew Lieberman at UCLA published a study in 2007 called Affect Labeling. Subjects looked at emotional faces in an fMRI scanner. When they put a word to what they saw, angry, afraid, frustrated, the amygdala, the brain's alarm bell, actually quieted down. Naming a feeling reduces its physical grip on you. Discernment is the internal version of distance. You're not moving farther from the person. You're getting clearer about what's yours and what's theirs. Mom's anxiety isn't your anxiety. Friend's bad day isn't your bad day. Coworker's chaos isn't your chaos. You don't need to leave the room to stop carrying it. You just need to name it. Theirs. Mine. Theirs. Mine. Permission to stay close to people without absorbing their weather. Here's the part nobody on the protect your peace circuit wants to say. When you cut someone off, the part of their brain that processes that pain is the same part that processes physical injury. A 2003 study in the journal Science by Naomi Eisenberger, Matthew Lieberman, and Kipling Williams put people in fMRI scanners and excluded them from a virtual ball toss game. The anterior cingulate cortex lit up, the same region that fires when you stub your toe. This isn't a reason to never cut anyone off. Sometimes the cost is worth it, but the cost is real, and the math goes both ways. Julianne Holt-Lundstad's 2015 meta-analysis, 3.4 million people, found that chronic social isolation raised mortality risk by 29%, comparable to obesity. Aggressive cutoff isn't free. The bill just arrives later. If you're watching this and you've already cut someone off and some of what I've said is landing as guilt, listen carefully. I've made this call before. So have most people I know. The decision you made was the decision you had at the time. You had what you had. You used what you knew. That counted. Missing the people you cut off doesn't mean you were wrong to cut them off. It means you're human. Both can be true. You can grieve the loss and stand by the choice. You can soften toward them in your mind without picking up the phone. None of that erases the protection you gave yourself. And one last thing, if any of this is bringing up something heavier than reflection, please don't sit with it alone. In the US, you can call or text 988. Outside the US, findahelpline.com. This video isn't a substitute for therapy. Lena went to the reunion. Devin stayed on the team. Ruth still calls her mom every Wednesday. None of them disappeared. They just changed the version of the relationship that was running them. 3 questions to keep. 1, is this a single moment or a long pattern? 2, are they unable or unwilling? 3, can you afford the cost of distance more than the cost of presence? If the honest answer points away from cutting, try the filter first. The wall is always available. Protecting your peace doesn't mean a smaller life. It means a more deliberate one. Walls versus filters, reaction versus selection, distance versus discernment. You don't need fewer people. You need clearer ones. If you want psychology videos that hand you the tool, not just the diagnosis, that's the whole reason this channel exists. Then tell me which of the 3 pairs is the one you most needed to hear. Pair 1, pair 2, pair 3. I read every comment.